IL-2 Sturmovik is one of my favourite games of all time. For a game released over 20 years ago, it has captured the attention of a niche community of like-minded aviation enthusiasts and has kickstarted a franchise that is still ongoing to this day. IL-2 is a combat flight simulator, a game that at its release represented the pinnacle of simulation. Its at the time sophisticated depiction of historical aircraft and their interaction with the virtual skies around them is something that has been often brushed aside in the modern discourse around video gaming. Its format of depicting history from the eyes of a fighter pilot can offer unique insights into how we approach history in video games today. In this video, I want to explore the allure that flight sims such as IL-2 hold on this small subsect of gaming, why we yearn to relive the experience of flying these machines, and why we want to keep that alive. IL-2 Sturmovik, much like its warbird namesake, is really a series spanning more than 20 years, each iteration either building off of, or branching from one another, culminating in the latest iteration being the Great Battle series and a soon-to-be-released title set in the Korean War. Across these games, IL-2 features dozens, and sometimes hundreds, of unique aircraft from across time, from classic warbirds of World War II to the dawn of the jet age. Each of these aircraft have been painstakingly recreated to be as close as possible to the real thing. This isn't a simple feat to accomplish, especially in the realm of historical works. As a franchise aiming for historical authenticity, the developers have to draw from multiple documents written decades ago, often with their own set of problems. In one of the recent dev briefs, the developers of IL-2 Korea discussed how differences in manufacturing quality, prototype testing, and the wear and tear of service can dramatically affect the performance. So along with raw numbers and statistics, what they also cited was how the pilot felt about the aircraft. Did it feel heavy or weighty to fly? Or did it feel fast and nimble? Can it turn on a dime, or does it take effort to do so? All of this to make the player feel like they're flying the real thing, a complex aircraft made up of multiple systems. In a way, it can be described as being an ergodic work. Now, that's an awfully wordy term to use in the Big 25, but as Crogan describes in his 2003 essay on Combat Flight Simulator 2, the term ergodic is the way in which an output is derived from multiple different parts, or how a result emerges from multiple different factors. In games, this refers to sequences of events the player goes through, such as different levels or interactions that serve to present a singular experience. While Crogan mainly uses this to describe the temporal nature of Combat Flight Simulator, something I'll get to in a moment, you can also apply this thinking to the mechanics of flight sims like IL-2. Unlike the more arcade flight games that feature simple variables like health, speed, or agility, the planes in IL-2 and CFS2 can best be described as a combination of systems affected by various factors that ultimately give the player the feeling of flying a living, breathing flying machine. Every component of the plane, from the control surfaces to radiators to fuel tanks, plays a vital role in serving the pilot, and the loss of any one of them presents itself a unique challenge for the player to overcome. A fuel leak will slowly run you dry before you can even make it back. Damaged control surfaces critically affect your mobility on combat, forcing you to use all your might to keep your machine aloft. Perhaps you even took a bullet yourself and you're slowly bleeding from the leg. You can try and nurse your way back to base before blood loss overwhelms you, or you can take your chances and bail, praying that the enemy will be merciful with you. The developers of IL-2 Korea aim to double down on this methodology through their improved damage systems. Aircraft systems are not just divided into vaguely blocky segments with a hit chance, but a near-accurate portrayal of the internal structure, even more so than what is already offered by Great Battles, where a bullet strike just off by a few centimeters can make the difference between a lucky getaway or an early grave. Even beyond the satisfying destruction model, the ergodic systems in IL-2 still present themselves in the operation of a fighter plane. If playing on the most realistic difficulty, the player will have to content themselves with watching the engine temperature, RPM, fuel mixture, and supercharger. Even consideration for the pilot's physical strain is a factor in itself. All of these systems combined challenge the player to learn to micromanage their respective aircraft. Mastering it to its full potential can be one of the most satisfying things to experience. It might then seem daunting to any newcomers in the genre, and in many ways it's one of the drawbacks of previous installments leading up to Korea, where finding the key to mastering a fighter plane is hidden behind walls of dry text or lengthy user-made tutorials and flight manuals. It seems the devs knew of this shortcoming, and so in the upcoming installment plan to add a museum mode, where the player can access information such as performance charts, cockpit diagrams, and even hands-on training scenarios, all in a way to make the game more accessible. While the employment of ergodism can be applied to the physical dimensions, what Crogan himself applied to was the way flight sims construct narratives. Because IL-2, just like CFS2, isn't a game solely about flying warbirds. It is a reconstruction of the air battles of the Second World War through the lens of a combat pilot. Despite serving as secondary to the main gameplay loop of combat sorties, the historical setting is far from absent. It plays a key role in contextualizing and immersing the actions of the player against the wider backdrop of a global conflict. Much like CFS2, the IL-2 series has campaigns, a series of either handmade or dynamic missions strung together to form a single through line, depicting the perspective of a pilot or squadron of pilots in a certain theatre of war. These missions on their own are relatively basic for a flight sim, but combined with context provided by mission briefings and a few cutscenes before and after, immerse the player in the setting. You aren't just simply blowing up convoys of tanks and trucks or shooting down planes, you are laying the grounds for a massive operation that could determine the fate of the war. A well-crafted campaign may include other flights of aircraft that aren't even integral to your mission, but make you feel like you are part of something bigger. Not unlike CFS2, the IL-2 series also treats itself as a medium of history. Its campaign cutscenes detail the historical operations and missions the player partakes in, and the object viewer function of IL-2 1946 gives you an in-depth detail of each and every aircraft and their history. Even some of the more fantastical aircraft introduced in the 1946 expansion has a justification to their inclusion. Except for the lurch. I'm not sure what the lurch is supposed to be. But perhaps the biggest contribution to IL-2's continued prevalence is undoubtedly its community. The original IL-2 games was something built for longevity and community engagement. Its full mission editor enabled the player to create countless custom missions or campaigns, and share them with others at a time when internet forum sites such as SAS and Mission for Today was and still is the place to host such content. These forum sites are often full of like-minded enthusiasts who have a deep passion for aviation and history, some even having personal ties to the field of aviation itself. Many, driven by the need to fill in the gaps left out by the original IL-2's Eastern Front perspective, sought to create campaigns exploring World War II from lesser-known areas, while others used the FMB to give new players hands-on training missions in absence of proper tutorials, and some just did whatever this was. Regardless, a simple tool such as the Mission Builder already creates an infinite amount of ways to play the game, and in a world where video game longevity is at risk, a small feature like that can go a long way to keeping a game alive long after developers have ended support, and that's before we get to the mods. It has been said many times before how mods keep games alive, and that's still true with IL-2 1946. While the more recent games lack official mod support, the original series has a strong modding community dedicated to improving the gameplay, from upgrading the sound and graphics to recreating forgotten aircraft left out of the original roster, or to stretch the limits of a World War II flight sim by adding modern jet fighters. Thanks, Matt. It's the combination of mods and creative tools that turned IL-2 1946 into a game that I fondly enjoy to this day, even as more modern game entries have come and passed. It's why you might have noticed that some of the footage used in this video looks substantially different than others. Flight simulators are more than just a genre of games. When you enter that virtual cockpit, you enter a piece of history, painstakingly recreated with attention and detail. Its valves and systems crafted and improved upon by developers and community to give you a certain experience, to feel like what it was like to be one of those who had taken to the skies more than 80 years ago.